Here's your First Warn Weather forecast first, sponsored by Anderson Collision Center. Visit driveanderson.com.
It was another cool day in the state line today as our temperature only made its way into the mid-60s yet again, topping out at 67 degrees in Rockford. Here into the evening, we still have a little bit of lingering cloud cover in the earlier half of the day. Eventually, though, that will start to fizzle out as we start to clear things out heading into the overnight hours, and that clearing will quickly allow for our temperatures then to drop back down into the 40s once again for those overnight lows. We'll rebound again to the mid and upper 60s going into tomorrow. A little bit less in the way of wind, so it will feel significantly warmer, and that warming trend continues as we head into the next week. I'll let you know when we could see our temperature inching even close to that 80-degree mark again, coming up in your most trusted forecast a little later.
A security fence is installed around a Rockford courthouse. What city leaders are saying about federal government involvement. And a rally is held outside the same courthouse. The words Rockford's mayor had for the Trump administration. And a heartwarming tradition returns to the state line. Why NICU reunions are so special for both patients and staff.
From Fox 39, this is Eyewitness News at 9.
I'm Blake Dietz. Thanks for joining us this evening. Tonight we're learning more about the temporary fencing put up by federal officials around the U.S. District Court in Rockford on Friday. The city of Rockford confirmed the installation of the security fence yesterday at the courthouse located at 327 South Church Street. This comes as city officials also announced that the Department of Homeland Security confirmed plans to expand ICE operations in Chicago and that those operations could extend to Rockford. In a statement to Eyewitness News, a spokesperson for the court said, quote, "Temporary fencing has been installed near the Stanley J. Ruskowski Courthouse to help those who need access to the courthouse to do so safely. Individuals arrested who are subject to deportation proceedings will not be brought before a judge in the Northern District of Illinois because those proceedings are administrative proceedings and not judicial proceedings. The court has not been informed as to where those individuals will be processed administratively," end quote. In an interview with Eyewitness News, City Council member Jonathan Logman said as of tonight, city officials are still looking for more clarity from the federal government.
I do know the city of Rockford made sure that the federal government went through the process to get a temporary permit, and that permit is good through for about 2 weeks until September 19th. But that's really the extent of what the city of Rockford knows right now. Those communication links are there's efforts to establish those in a more concrete manner. But right now, it's, and even earlier this morning and into last night, the reasons are just unclear as to why the fence was erected last night.
The alderman added that Mayor Tom McNamara is working with Winnebago County Board Chairman Joseph Shirelli and Sheriff Gary Caruana to learn more about federal presence in the city. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse this evening, rallying against the Trump administration. A No King, No Troops rally was held in the shadow of those courthouse fences. Organizers say it's to show solidarity with another No King, No Troops rally that was held in Chicago today. Local leaders, including former state representative Letisa Wallace, spoke at the rally. Rockford Mayor Tom McNamara also was in attendance and had strong words for the president's actions.
He is trying to distract us from what is actually taking place. But what he is also trying to do is divide us, and he's using the trick as old as time. You can look back not that far long ago to just the 1930s when there was another dictator in another country who was literally trying to make it an us versus them mentality so that they could drive their own agenda through.
Mayor McNamara added, quote, "There is no consistent information coming out of the federal government, and that is incredibly worrisome, and that is incredibly purposeful," end quote. Amid the tensions between local and federal officials, U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth held a town hall in Rockford on Saturday. The Illinois Democrat was at Jefferson High School this morning, answering questions from the community about the administration's threats to deploy ICE and National Guard troops in the state and cuts to Medicaid and other benefits. One local woman says it's the latter that brought her to the town hall, saying she wants to be a voice for other caretakers of those with disabilities.
I need to advocate for the other parents who are in their 70s and 80s and scared to death for their child's future, and they're afraid for their child outliving them. Autism, developmental disabilities as well, is non-discriminatory. It will hit Republicans, Democrats, Christian, any other religion, atheism, it doesn't matter.
This week, Senator Duckworth sent a letter to the Trump administration urging more communication between the administration and state leaders. An early morning fire traps multiple people inside a Rockford home. This happened around 5 a.m. The Rockford Fire Department responded to a home at 1107 North Avenue for reports of a fire with people trapped inside. Upon arrival, firefighters found a significant fire inside the two-story home. Several people had to be rescued from a porch roof. 6 total were rescued and 5 were transported to local hospitals. They are all expected to recover. The cause of the fire remains under investigation tonight. Total damages are estimated to be around $100,000. An annual tradition returns to Mercy Health Hospital. The 39th annual Neonatal Intensive Care Unit reunion was held this afternoon at Javon Bay Hospital Riverside. NICU patients, their families, and medical staff reunited to catch up and enjoy some fun, including pony rides, food, games, and giveaways. Hospital staff says NICU bonds are special as patients and families often spend several days to months in the unit. Seeing how patients recover and then thrive, says one NICU nurse, is one of the greatest feelings.
Challenges with the NICU is the emotional and mental aspect of it, not only for the families but for us. We do take that home with us, and to see how amazing that outcome can be for these people who have longed for so many years to become parents, and to finally experience that is just so rewarding.
Around 10% of U.S. infants are admitted to neonatal intensive care units every year. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The Israeli government is setting sights on Gaza City, claiming the city is a Hamas stronghold. Coming up after the break, we take you to the Middle East, bringing the latest in the war between Israel and Hamas.
It was a chilly start to the day and didn't really get much warmer for the afternoon. We only made it to 67 in Rockford, but we are going to start to see those numbers climb tomorrow and going into the rest of the week. I'll let you know just how high we could see those temperatures reach coming up in just a few minutes.
Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the Israeli military to capture Gaza City, saying it is a Hamas stronghold. The IDF targeting 2 high-rises after warning residents in and around those buildings to evacuate. But there are growing calls to end the war and find a diplomatic solution. Here's the latest.
Today, plumes of smoke rising from the ground after an Israeli strike leveled this 13-story high-rise building in Gaza City.
We have nothing left, this woman says, surrounded by a pile of debris that was once her home. Residents now sifting through the rubble, searching for what remains of their belongings. This strike comes one day after Israel hit another high-rise building in the western part of Gaza City. Dramatic images of children among the people running to safety as the dust cloud from the collapsed building covered the tent city where many displaced Palestinians now live. The Israeli military says evacuation orders were given before the strikes and say the buildings were targeted because Hamas had infrastructure inside or near them. Gaza's Hamas-run government media office refuting those allegations and condemning the strikes on residential buildings.
In Washington, President Trump says his administration is in talks with Hamas to release the remaining hostages taken in the October 7th Hamas attack.
We're in very deep negotiation with Hamas. If you don't let them all out, it's going to be a tough situation. It's going to be nasty.
In Tel Aviv, relatives of some of the hostages calling for a ceasefire deal to end the war.
The order to launch a ground conquest of Gaza is a death sentence for the hostages and will cause the fallen to be lost forever.
Today, the Israeli army called on Palestinians to move to the territory south ahead of a new offensive to seize all of Gaza City. Aid groups have warned a large-scale evacuation would worsen the humanitarian crisis that's already gripping the city's 1 million people. The world's leading hunger watchdog says the city is already suffering from famine.
Well, once again, it was another cool day here in the state line, feeling a lot more like getting ready for Halloween than enjoying the last few days of summer. However, some summer-like temperatures could be returning soon. Meteorologist Jordan Wolf joins us after the break to see when we could push 80 degrees and if any rain is on the horizon. His forecast is next.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
It was yet another cool day in the state line today. Our temperature only making its way to the mid-60s for the third day in a row, topping out at 67 in Rockford, 65 DeKalb, 66 Rochelle, 68 was the high temperature down in Sterling, 65 out in Galena. This is really added on to a stretch of some of that cooler weather. We only made it to 71 on Wednesday, 66 Thursday and Friday, and then 67, of course, today. All of those temperatures below average by a pretty significant margin, by around 8 to even 13 degrees below their average highs for each respective date. That's the coolest start to September that we've had in Rockford since 2017, and we'll likely start to see those numbers climb a little bit as we head through the week, but it'll still feel a little bit on the chilly side here into the night tonight. We're going to see those temperatures drop back down into the low 40s once again. A little bit of cloud cover lingering on early, but that will continue to fade away, allowing for those temperatures to drop very quickly. 41 the overnight low here in Rockford, another very chilly night. Would not be shocked to see a couple locations even briefly tag the upper 30s. Down in Rochelle did make it to the upper 30s earlier this morning and could once again do the same overnight tonight. We do return to 68 for tomorrow afternoon underneath the partly cloudy sky. A little bit on the cooler side still, but we'll get that increasing temperature and we don't have quite as much of a wind, so therefore it'll actually feel quite a bit warmer tomorrow compared to even what it was today. We'll have a little bit more sunshine and a little bit less wind, and that trend continues as we head through much of this week. We're actually back to 74 on Monday, still underneath the influence of high pressure, but as that pulls away, we will see a few spotty rain chances working their way a little bit closer as we get into Tuesday and into early Wednesday. But look at that temperature, even getting close to that 80-degree mark by the middle of the week. 80 on Wednesday, and we'll likely hold on to the upper 70s then for the next few days after that as well. But this trend does not come with much meaningful precipitation. We're still going to be fairly dry. That slim chance for some rain showers Tuesday and Wednesday will bring us a little bit of accumulation, but not a whole lot. And there are several locations in central Illinois into Indiana that may even stay dry over the next 5, 6, or even 7 days straight. Now, locally here, we have some very, very slim chances for rain. Probably won't add up to very much, but we are dry at least through Monday. Tuesday could bring us a very isolated chance. That continues then into Wednesday as well, but likely that coverage stays underneath 10 or even 20% for any broad coverage at any one given time. That drier than average trend likely sticks around into the middle of the month as well. The Climate Prediction Center outlook forecasting a pretty good chance that we'll see below average precipitation during that time. That does come with an above average temperature trend. However, we're likely going to hold on to the 70s at least for a little bit longer, heading into then the middle of the month. So while we are still cool here tonight and even going into tomorrow, our temperatures do start to climb, therefore going afterwards. 68 on Sunday, 72 then on Monday. We're back to 79 by the time that we get into Tuesday, 80 degrees for even a couple days during the middle and end of the week, even holding on to those upper 70s, but that does come with a little bit better chances for rain as we head into next weekend.
It looks like we're not quite done with summer just yet. Thanks, Jordan. Drew's in next with sports. We have some Nick 10 action coming your way next. Stay with us to see all the highlights and a recap on the Fighting Illini's dominant start to the season.
Now sports with Drew Collins.
The big game on the Nick 10 football schedule next week is Harlem at Hononegah. Both teams are off to 2-0 starts. Hononegah won last night over Jefferson. Harlem took care of business today at Auburn. Scott Leber was there.
Harlem got its second win this afternoon at Auburn. Here's one of the Huskies' many weapons. Running back Dwayne Broom taking the direct snap. He slips through a crease up the middle, then he'll avoid a tackle, keeps his balance, and with a block from Briar Craig, Broom has a 57-yard TD very early in the game. Harlem on defense now, and LeBron McClellan will go up and get the interception. McClellan now going to flip to the offensive side at receiver. He runs a short slant, and he'll turn that little pass into one very long touchdown. 14-0 Huskies. Then sophomore QB Braxton Fawcett fires deep and on the money to Jackson Cook. That was a 50-yard touchdown. Third quarter, Fawcett with some play action here. He dumps it to Cook, and then Cook turns on the afterburners. That was an 83-yard touchdown. Harlan led 28-0. Auburn did get a touchdown late from Gavin Sanders, but Harlem goes on to defeat Auburn 28-6.
Rockford University had their season opener. They welcomed in the Beloit College Buccaneers. The game started with some stout Beloit defense. They forced a fumble on the QB, and the Regents have to fall on it in their own end zone. Beloit will put 2 on the board with that safety. Following that, the Buccaneers would go down the field and tack on 6 more with the QB sneak. But the Regents have lightning in a bottle. Gage Hoosgart dots up Timothy Bearden. He takes this one all the way to the crib. RU trails 9-6. Hey, quick shout out to Hano's Yone Timoteo. He was in attendance for this one. Now a quick throw over to East grad Malik Gordon. Bounces off a few defenders and powers his way in for 6 more. The Regents come back to win 19-15. The 11th ranked Fighting Illini are off to a hot start to the season. They beat the Duke Blue Devils 45-19 and North Carolina. The Illini have scored 97 points in the first 2 weeks of the season. Luke Altmaier had 3 touchdowns. The Illini will host Western Michigan next weekend. After a hot day with the Bats yesterday, the Cubs cooled off today against the Nationals. They lost it 2-1, only 3 hits on the day for the Cubbies. PCA fouled a ball off of his right leg during the 6th inning. He's ruled day-to-day with a knee contusion. The series decider will be tomorrow at 1:20 in Wrigley. And after a 6-game winning streak, the White Sox finally found themselves back in the losing column. They were shut out by Detroit 6-0. The series decider will be tomorrow at 12:40. That's sports. We'll be right back.
Cloud cover we do have will likely clear out as we head toward midnight tonight, and that'll allow our temperature to quickly fall. Here's a look at those isolated sprinkles from earlier this evening. First Warn Interactive Radar from Rockford Glass and More. We're down to the low 40s again tonight. Would not be shocked at all to see a couple locations end up in the upper 30s, but we'll rebound to the upper 60s again tomorrow, 70s by the time we get to Monday, and even near 80 degrees a few days next week.
All right, thank you, Jordan, and thank you for joining us. That's our show. Have a great rest of your Saturday night.